something big was announced this week. That's right. The news is that Amazon is planning major job cuts yet again among its corporate workers, this time as soon as perhaps the end of this week for the first round of layoffs, followed by multiple other tranches. This has been reported by multiple news outlets. Now, the online retail giant plans to lay off, hold your hearts, as much as or as many as 30,000 employees over time this year, with as many as 14,000 to 16,000 job cuts taking place with immediate effect. And this cost-cutting measure is being led by the chief executive, Andy Jassy himself. Now, this would be Amazon's biggest job cuts since 2022, when the company let go of more than 25,000. Some reports indicate as many as 27,000 workers, but that happened over several months. Amazon's total workforce, which has more than 1.5 million employees across its warehouse and offices worldwide, is partly under threat. Now, last year, we saw more than 150,000 jobs cut across 549 companies, according to independent layoff trackers. Now, so far this year, more than 22,000 workers have been victims of reductions across the tech industry, with a staggering 16,000 cuts taking place just in the month of February alone. And India itself has not been immune. In fact, as many as about 12,000 layoffs were reported by TCS, all in the wake of making their workforce and their company future ready. So we are living in an AI-driven corporate economy. Now, the big question really is, how safe is your job, and what should you do to try and ward off this impact of AI really eating into your employment? Two very special guests joining us for this discussion. We have Mr. Prabir Jha, an HR veteran and the chief executive of and the founder of Prabir Jha Associates. We also have Mr. Rahul Agarwala from Sense AI, somebody who understands the world of AI much better than us. But Mr. Jha, let me begin first by asking you, the effect of AI is real and it's quite bloody. Where do you see this sort of ending, if at all there is a horizon or a timeline for that?
Karthik, always a pleasure to be on your show. And yes, things continue to be bloody. We've talked about it in one of our earlier conversations. See, at one level, you have to see it in the larger context. 10% directional cuts is bad, but 90% of it is still there, right? So that's one. Second is, if you read between the lines, a lot of the recent layoffs is actually proving to be true with reference to some of our earlier conversations I might share with you, that it is going to be not just pair of hands down the value chain, but actually increasingly more middle to senior level leaders who will face this prospect. Because a lot of work which is just supervisory and control and more a span-breaking role is definitely going to go away. So the specter of AI implications will cut across levels. And to me, that is a very qualitative shift. If you read very closely, a lot of the jobs that are going to go away are not just about those who are not necessarily adding to efficiency of current thinking and doing, but also possibly, and that's my guess, are going to be running the scalpel on more expensive jobs. So what I see, at least in the near term, is that the job class and also the job type is going to be a very important ingredient of any downsizing strategy of companies. And we can talk more about that. The reference to India, just to kind of lead you into that, it's more a wait and watch still for me. I don't know which way the cookie will crumble, because again, the reality is, while we do not like to talk about it, there is still the cost arbitrage edge that we have in India. And I just hope we continue to be prudent and not, get more cocky about that, we have all the talent in India, which may or may not necessarily be true. And if there were ripples which actually become more serious with so-called outsourced jobs or GCCs in India, then I think, the implications could be severe, because that is in many ways, both for the government, the country, and individuals, a very big ray of hope. Early
Right.
days, I don't want to kind of, call out gloom and doom yet. But yes, we have to wait and watch.
Right, no gloom and doom that you're calling out as yet, but I'm not sure those who are facing the axe at Amazon or even TCS for that matter would completely agree with you. But again, to take your point on mid-career professionals as well as senior professionals really being at the receiving end of this AI disruption, Rahul, I want to understand from you: is there a survival kit? Is there something which can be deployed by these mid to senior level employees, not just in tech companies but across the board, to really ward off this threat of job losses?
Thank you, Karthik, for having me here. That's a great question. So I think the first thing, as Mr. Jha partly said, I largely agree with him, which is that it's a qualitative shift. That white-collar jobs so a lot of the busy work goes away. So even if you take a senior role or a mid-level role, there is a lot of busy work, and a lot of that will just get simply automated using AI. And that's what it should be. I mean, if you go ask a mid-level or a senior resource what he doesn't like doing, it's all that busy work. But if you as a mid-level or a senior executive is adding enough value from a decisioning, planning, thought process perspective, the AI can't imagine the future. AI is very good at, let's say you want to get research done, AI can scan all the data and give you great summaries. But if you want to ask it what's the future going to be, AI is not going to help you understand that. And as managers, we need to manage for the future, not just to manage the problems today. And that's how managers need to start thinking. If you're a mid-level career executive, you need to think about what the future of your industry, what your business is going to be, and drive towards that.
Yeah.
And of course, resisting technology has never worked, right? It's historically proven fact that standing in the way of technology doesn't work. So adopting it and making it your friend is the first order of business for any executive. So it's not just about adopting it yourself, but helping your enterprise adopt it, your company adopt it.
Right.
If, you're seen as part of that movement because that's all about the future. So
Absolutely.
Link your boat to the future, not be tethered to the past. That's my sincere advice to mid-level and senior executives.
Right, but I want to take that boat analogy forward with Mr. Prabir Jha. Mr. Jha, now what Rahul is mentioning is that there is going to be strategic thought process which AI cannot replace, but typically the strategic thought process evolves in boardrooms. But for you to get a seat in those boardrooms or in the CXO corner offices, you've got to go through the grind of being a mid-career professional. Now, if those are the very jobs which are under attack, how does a start of career junior level employee really develop that strategic thinking? Because if everything from writing long notes to making presentations to crunching data is being done by a bot, then how do you as an employee get exposure to that kind of work before you're put in a position to take those calls?
I think that is why Rahul's comments are so apt, right? At the end of the day, the nature of the grind is going to change. Mm-hmm. And we're being in denial. So even closer home in India, when a big tech firm were to let go of many, many middle and senior level people, suddenly the question to ask is, who was not reading the writing on the wall? Of course, the company, because it continued to kind of take these guys along, 10 years, 20 years with it. And why did they not kind of read the writing on the wall? So that does not absolve the company or its leadership. But at another level, I always have told you that, ultimately careers will remain the individual liability and responsibility of the individual, right? At the end of the day, you have got to decide what that grind is. Now, if you continue to kind of, sharpen your saw in an era of NBC warfare, then you're obviously doing the wrong thing, because that sharpening of the saw is irrelevant because the saw doesn't matter. So the grind will change. And therefore, the point that as I was listening to Rahul, and I completely agree with him, is that, if you are freed of a lot of drudgery, what would you prepare yourself with and for? Mm-hmm. And, I will be very honest, and I advise and coach and meet a lot of executives, both in the tech world and beyond. And they are ignorant about the world. I mean, a simple expression, VUCA, I was doing this exercise with 200 million recently. Only about 10% knew what VUCA was, and Bani, no one had even heard of it. And these are well-known IT companies. And I'm just saying, how many of you read business papers or follow channels like yours, as an example, right?
Right.
no curiosity. So they've all been frogs in the well. And in a body shopping world, it worked because your only job was to execute, not think. And I'm oversimplifying, and my apologies for that. But today we want to see everything from a multidisciplinary, multi-geography, multi-technology leverage perspective. And right. And I will be very honest, I am very, very petrified of middle and, for that matter, senior level leaders of being great role models or mentors for this, because many have got to levels of incompetence by doing a very different thing. They have not been exposed. And this is not just in technology, by the way. I see this across sectors. And the fact that organization architecture is absolutely overweight, it is absolutely bereft of a sense of meritocracy. Mediocrity always in India trumped meritocracy.
Right.
4 long years of association and tenure have actually, trumped candor and honesty and fresh thinking. So, to me, again, from the playbook advice perspective, it is for people to smell the coffee and say, guys, I need to look at my grind differently, because the grind is no longer going to be the grind that maybe 20 years of past experience was.
Right. So Rahul, how do we sort of get that critical thinking? How do we get them to look at the grind differently? And how do we get them to really appreciate the fact that knowledge and experience would not be irreplaceable? So I want to actually call out, do these certificates that people, with some humility and sometimes not with as much humility, showcase on their LinkedIn feeds, are these certificates, digital courses, really getting certified in some part of AI, or doing some of these part-time courses to understand artificial intelligence or any other sort of management or leadership skill? Are these actually doing the job, or do you think there is actually need for some serious effort being made by organizations, being made by individuals themselves, to understand the game from a macro and a micro view, rather than just trying to acquire a particular skill which can be showed off on LinkedIn?
I could agree with you more, Karthik. So I think, by the way, YouTube is a much better teacher than most. You can get learning for free on YouTube, which most very highly paid courses won't give you. But even more importantly, look at the freshers you hired, those 20-year-olds who've just come out of college and who are digital natives and today AI natives, and ask them to do the job and see how they produce. Go ask them to write a report on a complex topic and see the quality he produces. Of course, your knowledge will still supersede the report he produces, but what he'll produce will not be 10 years behind you. That 20 years of experience you have over him is not helping you. It gives you a short advantage. Right. And once you understand, and if you don't learn from them, and that's the best way to get yourself updated. Right?
But Rahul, if I can just butt in here for just 1 second. So, do you think managers also have wrong expectations from subordinates? Because if you want everything done as of yesterday, then the subordinate is at some point going to use AI and is going to present something to you on which at best maybe you can add a few edits, you can value add, you can get something corrected, which overall gives you more efficiency. And hence going forward, that subordinate is shown the door, and there you go and buy a subscription to an AI tool and just get an intern to perhaps, put in those queries.
Yes, that risk, while it may sound very real, the point really is, ultimately, you need to build the next generation of leadership also. So AI is not going to be that, right? So you need to develop these guys. So you will work with those smart youngsters. My point is actually asking them to get it done really fast, and then seeing how they use AI to crunch the time. Something that would have taken your colleague of 5 years junior to you. So while junior, so he'll do what you're saying, but he's going to do it based on original thought and sit and write. While this young kid, because he doesn't have the baggage of your knowledge, and I'm calling it baggage purposely, and B, he is conversant with the latest tools. So he's going to do it, really speaking, if you wanted it done yesterday, he'll get it done yesterday. And that should open your eyes, that's the speed at which business can move. And unless we adopt, everything that's going to come out is not, the report is just a first step in a longer journey, right? And think about that longer journey and spending more time doing other stuff than that report that you needed to prepare to start the discussion at, let's say, a board meeting or whatever internal meeting that you had.
Right.
Why are we, a lot of time is spent just making sure that we get to decisions and get everybody to agree to those decisions. You'll find a ton of work going around there. Rather than figuring out what are the best strategies, we are just creating material to, make people understand what we are trying to do. Right? All that should become much easier. So, if you make the right steps, that is the value you add as a human being, as somebody, and you understand people. You understand how your team will respond to a move you make, how the market will respond, customers. You have the relationships. These will remain human. Right?
All right.
And you have to focus on that. So it's a question of what your focus is. If you think your job's not going to change, that's the problem, right? You're saying, hey, I used to do it this way, so I should continue. It worked. And the way you did it got you to the place you are today. So there's an inherent bias people have that what helped them succeed, they continue to do that with the belief that that'll work. But it won't.
Right.
And unless you change that assumption, none of the other good stuff is going to happen.
I agree with you. So I don't know if I can simplify it really, Mr. Jha. Not sure if you're going to agree with me, but listening to the two of you, I think it seems that with the advent of Chat GPT, with the advent of so many AI tools now available literally at the click of a button, even your Google search now gives you a summary which is AI generated. So you don't even need to take the pain of clicking through those links. So going forward, in the advent of AI literally penetrating the job force and the workplace, do you think the only two, I'm really simplifying it, so sort of excuse my ignorance there, but if I were to really simplify it, do you think the only two tools that people need are common sense and context? With the right tools, you will be able to pretty much do everything which years of experience and years of learning is now done by AI.
So at a very simplistic level and with the same riders, I will say yes, right? But what Rahul explained, I can confirm to you that, many things where I would have possibly put 5 management trainees to work on, I do it on my smartphone today. So the research, history, 100 years history of something I was trying to trace, I got it with 2 minutes. 100
exactly.
So the question is...
So you have the context of what you want to search for. And of course, when you're looking at the result, common sense tells you whether it's done a good job or not.
So Karthik, these 5 guys who would otherwise have felt very busy some years ago don't have a job because that's what my phone is able to do for me in a way. So what really is needed? One, in my view, something which was seen to be very soft will become absolutely the differentiator for careers, which is creativity, innovation, actual relationship handling, the empathy, all of that which we thought was soft skills, they are going to be hard. Right. Technology, there will always be a group of people who will be so niche and they'll be in that vertical of the T going deeper and deeper, who will generate all these tools for you.
Right.
But let us look at it, technology, and I'm not an engineer, but I believe I am a far better consumer of technology than engineers. Right. And I don't need to know technology. I should be comfortable. And I think Rahul used that word. You have to embrace, we have to be adopters of technology. And if someone like me can do it without knowing anything of the background, it is fine. Because in my work, I have to see if this is done to me in a second. What are those 4 big decisions I need to take which will impact the future? That is where you should apply your thought. And that is where great leaders should mentor the younger generation. The question I have is, people who actually have at some levels, they may accept it or not, but do live with this imposter syndrome because a whole generation has got to levels, and who knows, maybe it's me included, to levels of authority, influence and power, position, may actually not be the right people to be able to mentor the new guys. So it's a very big mindset change. The worry I have is, are we changing fast enough and are we changing to scale? Because in my advisory work, in my coaching experience, while there is an intellectual acceptance, the willingness to do differently is very, very slow. And I don't think technology is going to wait for that. So you have an option, be smart and know which way the wind is blowing, reinvent yourself, repurpose your role. You do not have to build your future career on the basis of what you've done so far. But if you're not imaginative, you're not creative, you're not great with so-called the softer skills of life, I honestly think the tech world is going to be a very contrarian experience for you.
All right, gentlemen, I'm sure we can carry on and on. There are so many interesting facets on this whole conundrum that employees are faced with right now. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. But thank you so much for your time, Rahul, as well as Mr. Praveer Jha. Pleasure having you both here with us on this never-ending discussion, which I'm sure we will keep coming back to here on the AI Report.